You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, jurors convict an Oklahoma man of arson and murder in the burning deaths of his mother and grandmother.
Ready for a windy Tuesday, and then we'll transition into rain right before Thanksgiving. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, minority communities tend to suffer the worst effects of climate change. We look at how communities of color deal with the impacts. All that and more coming up. Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Jurors have convicted an Oklahoma man of murder and arson in the burning deaths of his mother and grandmother. Federal prosecutors say 34-year-old Joseph Allen Hernandez of Marble City was found guilty in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Oklahoma in Tulsa. Acting U.S. Attorney Christopher Wilson says Hernandez faces life in prison when sentenced, following completion of a pre-sentence report. Prosecutors say Hernandez doused his mother, Audrey Hernandez, and his grandmother, Frances Wright, with gasoline in June of 2019 and then set them on fire. Work is becoming three-dimensional at the site of the new Dover Hill Elementary in Joplin. By 3D, we mean steel beams are beginning to go up and the school's safe room is coming together. Work on the new school began with a groundbreaking back in April. The pandemic has played a role in certain aspects of the new school.
One of the main things that we're looking at changing is the HVAC system for this particular building will be upgraded for the filtration system.
Officials say they hope to be near completion in about 12 to 13 months. Freeman Health System announced the Grand Marshals for this year's Joplin Christmas Parade. Isaac and Easton Howard will take on the position. They are 7-year-old twins who were recently named National Children's Miracle Network Hospital Champions. Since the parade benefits the Children's Miracle Network, organizers say the choice was easy.
Isaac and Easton have just been tremendous ambassadors for Children's Miracle Network since they were born. And when they were chosen as the national champions, it really exemplified what the CMN program means to Freeman Health System, what it means to our community.
Twin service dog Ace will also take part in the parade. Well, Joplin now has a direct connection to the Santa Claus. Joplin Parks and Recreation is offering its Letters to Santa campaign again this year. Children are invited to write a letter to Santa and drop it in Santa's mailbox at the Joplin Parks and Rec offices on West 1st Street or at Academy Sports and Outdoors on Rangeline Road. An after-hours mailbox is also available at the department's office. With a little help from friends, Jolly Old St. Nick will write a response to each child who sends a letter.
The letters that we send to Santa, he doesn't purchase anything off of. It just gives him ideas necessarily. So either one, you'll get your response time is usually about the same whether you take it to Academy or deliver it to our office because we collect them all together.
Santa's mailbox will be available until December 6th. Letters must include the child's first and last name, a return mailing address, and a few details about the child, such as their school, if they attend one, brothers or sisters, pets, friends, and a wish list. Letters should be addressed to Santa's Workshop, 9 Reindeer Road, North Pole. You can find this information and more details on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Sounds like Santa wants to know a lot about the kids. Well, it's all yours for around $20 million. Tiffany and Company just unveiled what it calls its most expensive piece of jewelry ever. The world's fair necklace unveiled in Dubai on Sunday. All right, this is what I want. It features 180 carats of diamonds set in platinum, and the centerpiece is an 80-carat oval. It's flawless, D-color Empire diamond. Empire diamond was ethically sourced in Botswana, cut and polished in Israel, and set in Tiffany's workshop in New York City. The luxury retailer has not yet put a price on the necklace, but industry experts estimate the value to be between $20 million and $30 million.
I want to give you a hypothetical scenario and put yourself in this situation here.
About how I can get that?
Okay, we'll play your hypothetical first.
Okay. Are you going to be hypothetical about
Think you're doing?
the ethical way that they got it?
I wasn't even going to touch that with a 10-foot
Okay.
pole. How are you going to come about it? We'll play your scenario first. How are you going to come about this?
I'm just asking for it.
No, I did notice how you said it was ethically harvested. So we don't have to have the blood diamond conversation. That's always a good thing not to have on live television and a family-friendly
Do you
entertainment.
just say that and it
Morning
makes it
show.
okay? Like the label, it's ethically harvested.
Right. Look at the back of my tag. No, what I wanted to say was, can you imagine being the person, the man or the woman, who is in charge of escorting this from Botswana to Israel to New York? You're in charge of it, okay? That's what it's going to look like when it's done. But until then, if you lose it,
You lose something else.
there are going to be a whole lot of people looking for you. That's all I'm saying.
That's why they didn't ask you to do it, Michael.
Right. Even if you accidentally, I dropped my buddy's ring one time at a wedding and you still won't let me get over that? It was one time, Tanya. It's like 20 years ago. You still bring it up. We found it. I mean, yeah, I had to get the Phillips head and take off the plates to the air conditioning unit, but I mean, I got it out. Gosh.
Hey, you could be like me and during a
So
photo
much-
shoot accidentally go like this and lose your ring in
So
Spring
much
River.
for bygones being bygones, folks.
That was
Gosh, we're
me.
getting
Anybody
close to the
find a ring yet?
holidays. We just let that story go.
It's about 2016.
One time I did that. It wasn't that big of a deal. His son would have dropped it anyway. 55 degrees is our average high. 76, our record high. We'll actually fall right in between there. We'll be about 66 degrees this afternoon. Our temperatures ranging anywhere from 28 in Sedan, 39 our high point right now in Joplin. Miami is sitting right at the freezing mark of 32 along with Fort Scott. It is going to be a windy one this afternoon all the way through the nighttime hours into Wednesday. These numbers relatively unimpressive right now. That's going to be subject to change here in about the next hour. Skywatch Storm Tracker, clean, clear as can be. Just a gorgeous start for those of you traveling, whether it be regionally, whether it be nationally. Not a whole lot of problems as the high pressure system continues to move off to the east. Now, this low pressure up here is going to present some rain and snow for the upper plains, but what we'll concentrate on is the Gulf moisture that'll be able to move in from Texas and bring us some rain for Wednesday. Until we get there, though, we're going to roll back-to-back days up in the 60s, a little abnormally warm for late November. And really, our rain for Wednesday, if you're going to be out on the road, if you can get out before Wednesday, say about 8, 9 o'clock, that's when we see it begin to formulate. And we get a little pocket every now and then of some heavy rain, but it really doesn't pick up until just as we turn Wednesday into Thursday, especially along and south of I-44 with a heavier batch. But then by the time we hit sunrise on Thanksgiving, we're pretty much done. Now, Thanksgiving in and of itself is going to be a tad bit chilly, high of only 46. But as we head into the weekend, if you've got additional travel plans, whether it be going home or whether it be holding off to take advantage of the weekend, going to be gorgeous. Tanya?
All right, well, up next, the CDC gives the green light for anyone over the age of 18 to receive a COVID booster shot. We'll tell you how you can better handle it. And later, we get to take a look at a rare occurrence in the reindeer world, twins. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. With the CDC giving the green light for COVID-19 booster shots for everyone over the age of 18, patients may have questions about what to expect with a third dose of the vaccine. Naomi Reckham has more.
Mary Ann Venancio is opting for another dose of COVID-19 protection.
I have chronic Lyme, and I see an infectious disease doctor, and he advised me that I would be a really good candidate for a booster.
Health officials say COVID-19 vaccines are doing a good job preventing severe illness, hospitalization, and death, even against the Delta variant. But waning immunity is a concern.
Boosting gives you that bigger immune response from your original vaccine, and it also helps you fight Delta better.
Dr. Melanie Swift with the Mayo Clinic's COVID-19 vaccine program says people getting a booster can expect side effects like a sore arm.
Fatigue, general muscle achiness, and headache, those are more common in younger people. The older you are, the less likely you are to have those side effects. It's very similar for boosters to the pattern that was seen in dose 2 of the mRNA vaccines.
After your shot, stay at home and take it easy. To alleviate symptoms, you can drink plenty of fluids and take an over-the-counter pain reliever if necessary. Dr. Swift adds not having a reaction does not mean your shot didn't work.
The side effects that we get are due to that robust immune reaction. But our immune reaction is probably more robust than it actually has to be to protect us. And not everybody feels those symptoms the same way.
She says most importantly, if you haven't received your first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine, now is the time. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Research from Israel on older adults shows rates of COVID-19 and severe illness were much lower among people who received a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Well, one of the first Tuskegee men to escort bombers in World War II received a special honor from the city of Detroit for his 100th birthday. The city gifted Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson a key to the city on Monday. Officials also unveiled plans for a new plaza and statue in his name. Jefferson served as a P-51 fighter pilot with the Red Tail 332nd Fighter Group. The Tuskegee Airmen overcame segregation and prejudice to become one of the most highly respected fighter groups in the war.
And not only for escorting the bombers, but also too for the strafing of the Mediterranean islands leading to the American Allied invasion. They're pretty much fully responsible for that. That's a great story right there. 100, did you say he's turning 100? Is that right?
I don't know.
My goodness.
Let's go back.
That's tremendous. That's too cool right there. Let's take a live look over 7th and Rangeline, where currently we sit at 39 degrees, so a little warm up already underway. Earlier we were at 33 pre-sunrise, so that's a nice little bump up right there. It's a combination of not only the sun, but also the southerly winds, as our temperature is still in between about 29 and 39 degrees, starting to impact out to the west right there, where we're getting close to double digits and a beautiful Skywatch storm tracker without a worry in sight. The ridge of the jet stream now moving from west to east, and since it's just about over us, that's really going to bring us 2 days of very nice November temperatures. But also too, comes with wind that is for certain as much as 25-mile-per-hour gusts during the afternoon, and then as we work into the night, we're talking about 35 to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It'll increase up here from the northwest all the way through the central portion. Not going to die down after sunset. There we are early tomorrow morning. We're going to be blustery as can be. Very careful. Highway 400, 126, and also even 44. Even though 44's got a little bit of a slant to it, it still has that east-west feel that high-profile vehicles are going to be affected. Future track will show us that really same thing that we've been talking about ever since last week. Rain begins late Wednesday night. If you get on the road, if you get off the road, off the road before sunset, going to be okay. Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, especially early Thursday morning, south of I-44 is where we see the heaviest rain. And then for the most part, we're done after that. And our flight index misery map showing us if you're going to travel to an airport. Tell you what, you are in luck right now. We hardly have any national delays. After that, yeah, it's a little cool Thursday, but look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. More perfect travel conditions. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Climate change, extreme weather, and rising rates of disease from pollution, all problems that potentially affect all Americans. But often, it's low-income communities and people of color who bear the brunt of those growing threats.
It's been nearly 3 months since Hurricane Ida, a Category 4 storm, slammed Louisiana. Yet this small black community of Ironton looks like the storm hit yesterday.
They got people that lost everything, don't know where they're going to get their next meal from.
What is that like, having to know that every hurricane season you don't know if you're going to lose everything
I've never been to war, but I can imagine with a young man that's been in the war and dealing with post-traumatic stress, because this is a form of post-traumatic stress.
Steps away from destroyed homes, caskets with the dead inside sit under the warm Louisiana sun. The state-run cemetery task force has not returned them to their resting place after floodwaters forced them from their grave sites.
It's heartbreaking to see that no one's really trying to put them back.
Ironton is in Plaquemines Parish, where the Mississippi River meets the Gulf of Mexico, south of New Orleans. Much of the area is below sea level, and it has the dubious distinction of being one of the fastest vanishing places on the planet due to climate change-induced sea level rise. A recent EPA study found minorities are more likely to live on land endangered by rising sea levels and more likely to die from extreme temperatures. But extreme weather is not the only danger. A drive along the Mississippi River between New Orleans and Baton Rouge reveals an 85-mile stretch of more than 150 petroleum and chemical companies that have sandwiched whole neighborhoods while spewing harmful emissions. More vulnerable to climate change, more exposed to pollutants. It's the proverbial 1-2 punch EPA Administrator Michael Regan came to see as the Biden administration promises to address environmental injustices in minority and low-income communities.
The general feeling here is that their government has failed them.
I think the state and federal government and local government has failed the people in terms of effectively communicating and being transparent and offering some levels of relief.
Failing people like 81-year-old Robert Taylor, a lifelong resident of Louisiana's Cancer Alley, where the nation's highest cancer rate is concentrated.
We want him to stop the slaughter. This is outright slaughter.
These are all of Taylor's family members diagnosed with cancer. Almost everyone here has a cancer story.
When you look at how much industry is here, and the suffering that we're seeing, there has to be a correlation.
The state has not declared this a public health emergency. Are you prepared to go against that?
We're going to assess the data, we're going to follow the facts, we're going to follow the science, and we're going to follow the law.
The state has not responded to requests for comments about the caskets. We'll be back with this morning's 4-State Hero right after this.
Marine who served in the U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force. The Chinook, Kansas native fought in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. We are proud to salute Master Sergeant Harley Montgomery, our 4-State hero. Some might call it a pre-Christmas miracle. A farm outside of Anchorage, Alaska, has twin reindeer. Now, it's rare for the animals to survive when they're born together. Photojournalist Alexi Yelverton has more on the 6-month-olds that have beaten the odds.
So we're gonna go down this way and around to get in the pen. I'm here at the Williams Reindeer Farm. This is my family's farm, and we've had reindeer here for over 30 years, and it's still run by my family today. The twins are super special, so they kind of became a part of our tour this summer. And these are the twins. Spicy and Spike, twin reindeer. They're super awesome. Because Spike was bottle raised, he was in a special pen, and so then when the tour guides would pass him, they would talk about his story. Hi, babies. There's Spike. Spicy and Spike's mom, her name is Sugar Mama, and she was in labor. One of the staff had reported to me that there's a cow in labor, and she'd been in labor for like 20 minutes. And I was like, it's okay, labor, it usually takes longer than that, but let's go out and check on her. So I went out and we watched the birth. She was a really tame cow, so she let us be right close to her while she was in labor. And we watched the baby pop out, and as soon as the first one came out, I saw that there were 2 more feet hanging out of her bottom. And I panicked because I was like, oh no, this means twins. And for us, historically, twins have not always survived. Usually one of the twins won't survive or the mom doesn't survive, just the way that twins are. The reindeer are not built for twins. As far as we know a lot of other reindeer farmers, and I don't know anybody else who's had twins that survived. So it's really not common. And in 30 years of owning reindeer, we have had twins and not one of them has survived, beyond 24 hours. So this was really exciting for us because it is so rare. We did separate Spike from Spicy when they were about a day old, 12 hours old, and we've reunited them since then. They're weaned from the bottle, weaned from their mom. They're in the same pen now, and they find each other often. Like, they eat the same hay bale and they lay together, and I think it's that twin telepathy, they like seek each other out even after being separated for months. To reunite them and have them be best friends is really cute. I love that.
That that camera lens needs cleaning. Well, the farm offers a Santa experience tour for those who can brave the Alaskan winter. It'd be pretty cool. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, shortages continue to impact the automotive industry and create a strong demand for used cars. And one police officer describes the culture of racism he had to endure in his department. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news.
Welcome back
now.
to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Jurors have convicted an Oklahoma man of murder and arson in the burning deaths of his mother and grandmother. Federal prosecutors say 34-year-old Joseph Allen Hernandez of Marble City was found guilty in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Oklahoma in Tulsa. Acting U.S. Attorney Christopher Wilson says Hernandez faces life in prison when sentenced following completion of a pre-sentence report. Prosecutors say Hernandez doused his mother, Audrey Hernandez, and his grandmother, Frances Wright, with gasoline in June of 2019 and then set them on fire. On Monday, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce and Southwest Missouri Bank named Dan Pekarik the 2021 Outstanding Citizen of the Year. Pekarik served the city of Joplin in various roles throughout his 35-year-long career. He started as an environmental health specialist in 1986 before being promoted to a lead sanitarian and later the director of the Joplin Health Department. He recently served as the interim city manager and then assistant city manager in Joplin.
It's not because of me that those things occurred, it's because of my great staff in the health department or at City Hall, in other city departments that I've worked with. You know, it's really about those folks that I've worked with over the years and really all the folks in the community that I've worked with on various committees and coalitions. And
the Outstanding Citizen Award is in its 55th year. On Monday, the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce hosted its annual VIP Fall Extravaganza. The event at the Fort Scott Middle School offered folks a chance to get some goodies ahead of the holidays. Things like baked goods and holiday music were up for grabs in a raffle.
You can see everybody out there just talking and having a good time, so it's nice to get to be together. It's also a great opportunity for our local vendors to, like I said, get their names out. And they have people who, you know, they give out their cards and they make sales all year long from this event. So it's just been a really nice way to promote the locals.
All of the items raffled off were donated by area vendors. Joplin now has a direct connection to the Santa Claus. Joplin Parks and Recreation is offering its Letters to Santa campaign again this year. Children are invited to write a letter to Santa and drop it in Santa's mailbox at the Joplin Parks and Recreation offices on West 1st Street or at Academy Sports and Outdoors on Range Line Road. An after-hours mailbox is also available at the department's office. With a little help from friends, jolly old St. Nick will write a response to each child who sends a letter.
The letters that we send to Santa, he doesn't purchase anything off of. It just gives him ideas necessarily. So either one, you'll get your response time is usually about the same whether you take it to Academy or deliver it to our office because we collect them all together.
Santa's mailbox will be available until December 6th. Letters must include the child's first and last name, a return mailing address, and a few details about the child, such as their school, if they attend one, brothers or sisters, pets, friends, and a wish list. Letters should be addressed to Santa's workshop at 9 Reindeer Road, North Pole. You can find this information and more details on our website at koamnewsnow.com. Northern Germany's Rostock Zoo on Monday announced the recent birth of a polar bear twins. It's the morning of twins, of course. They released a short video of proud mother Sizzle tending to her offspring. The zoo reported Sizzle was doing a great job looking after her 2 babies who were born November 14th. Polar bear cubs are born almost naked, and it takes them up to 2 months to be able to stand up on their feet. According to German media, Rostock Zoo will ensure Sizzle and her babies are not exposed to any type of stress for now.
That's crazy.
They're so tiny.
That is crazy.
It's mama's job to keep them warm if they're born naked.
I mean, just look how small they are.
Yeah. Oh.
That thing's going to end up being one of the largest carnivores in the animal kingdom.
It could fit in her mouth. Wow.
Well, I mean, if it was out in the wild, is what I meant.
Well, yeah.
I had no idea they were that small.
Beauty of nature here. They're so cute for hairless animals, knowing that they'll get fur sometime.
You know they can run up to 25 miles per hour. Can you imagine being chased by one of those?
Wonder how they stay warm. Like,
Gotta remember, I don't have to escape the polar bear.
well, because
I just gotta escape you.
The mom's gonna leave, and well, no, she probably doesn't feed herself until they can get enough fur on them to stay warm on their own before she can leave the nest.
I know they average a litter about every 6 years. So, yeah. I'll be doing. That's amazing. All right. I've just absolutely become enthralled, obviously, with polar bear babies. That's too cool. Anyway.
Michael's new favorite creature.
Weather. 39 degrees is where we stand over 7th and Range Line. It is going to be a windy, albeit a warm Tuesday, all the way up into the 60s, abnormally warm for Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll roll some mid-60s even down to the south. Remember, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we've got rain, but if you're off the road by sunset or getting back on the road by sunrise on Thanksgiving, you will avoid any of the precipitation, and we're not looking at anything severe. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Thanksgiving and how many people you're having over, the subject of our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Just asking, how big is your Thanksgiving gathering? Those two right there are from the country of Colombia, and they'd never been to a Thanksgiving. They kind of put it out there on social media. She's a student at Harvard, got multiple invites. In fact, Susanna, that you see right there on the right, she never had turkey before, so they're going to enjoy their Thursday for sure. Our question was, how many people are you going to have around you at the table? 60% of you saying more than 5 people. So I hope everyone has a marvelous time reminiscing with friends and family. The Taliban has banned women from Afghan TV entertainment and drama under new television rules. Women have been banned from appearing in television dramas in Afghanistan under new rules imposed by the new Taliban government. According to the new edict, which was issued to broadcasters over the weekend, dramas, soap operas, or entertainment shows featuring women are prohibited. Under the previous Taliban government, television was prohibited as well as most other forms of media. New rules came despite pledges from the Taliban that it would be more moderate in exercising its power this time around. A fake heiress scams New York's high society in a new series based on a true story. And HBO Max has a new animated Christmas comedy for adults. Anthony Pura has today's Eye on Entertainment.
Netflix dives into the story of one of New York's biggest con artists with Inventing Anna. The 9-episode limited series from Shonda Rhimes follows a journalist investigating the case of Anna Delvey, a fake German heiress who conned her way into New York's social scene and stole their money. Inventing Anna drops on Netflix February 11th. Sarah Silverman and Seth Rogen are the starring voices in Santa Inc., a new stop-motion animated Christmas story not meant for kids. The new adult comedy from HBO Max is centered around an elf who is determined to become the first female Santa.
She has ideas, but can she really be the face of Christmas?
Santa Inc. is available December 2nd on HBO Max. And the Metropolitan Opera will debut a new singer today, and his talents don't stop with his voice. Jakub Józef Orliński will be featured in the new opera Eurydice. Orliński, who is from Poland, is an accomplished break dancer, which he enjoys doing on the side. The singer says he discovered breaking at age 18.
It's not that like I'm trying to be a product who is like, oh, there is like this breakdancing countertenor. I am singing, that's my occupation, sort of, like I'm an opera singer, and this is something that I do aside, and I'm not a professional dancer, but I still do that because I love it.
Eurydice will be running at the Met Opera through December 16th. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Holiday shopping upon us, so if you're thinking about a new ride or unloading one, you're not going to want to miss this story coming up after the break.
Most industries are being hit hard by shortages. The car industry is no different. With new cars becoming harder to find, It's created a demand for pre-owned vehicles. Madison Heavy has more on the story.
Pre-owned 2018, 2019, and 2021 vehicles sit in a row ready to be sold. Some of these bought and sold back within the same year.
Customers are starting to recognize how difficult it is to get a 2021 or 2022, and they're now open to a 2019 or a 2020 that's either pre-owned or certified pre-owned.
There's a few reasons for this shift. The first is a global semiconductor shortage that has slowed down the new car production process. Car buyers are now collectively shifting to pre-owned. That's created a demand.
There's really no vehicle that's not in demand. I mean, everything from Kias and Hyundais and Hondas up to Mercedes, Porsches, Audis, Volkswagens, everything.
Nilo Volkswagen's general manager walks down the line of pre-owned cars, past a Jeep, a Porsche, an Audi, and a Mercedes. He needs these cars. There's 15 new cars on the lot right now, and normally there's 100. So it's why those cash offer days are so important, getting pre-owned cars on the lot to fill in that gap.
So what that's doing is now that there's a higher demand on used vehicles, it's increasing the market value.
Nilo Volkswagen even went as far to host a Kelley Blue Book instant cash offer day. Anyone that came in for an appraisal got a $50 gift card, car wash, food, and a cash offer for their car.
We're looking to acquire as many used vehicles as possible, and at the same time, hopefully put some money in the customer's pocket with the holiday season coming up.
We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A black police officer in Ohio is speaking to CBS News about what he says was a racist incident involving his chief that later made national headlines. In June, surveillance video captured the chief of Sheffield Lake Police Department putting a paper with the words Ku Klux Klan and Officer Keith Poole's raincoat. Poole says that was only the beginning. David Bednod traveled to the Cleveland suburb to sit down with Officer Poole.
This surveillance video captured inside the Sheffield Lake, Ohio Police Department caught the then police chief Anthony Campo Sr. placing a paper on the raincoat of the only black police officer in his department. On it, the words Ku Klux Klan. 30 seconds later, that officer, Keith Poole, walked into the room.
People thought I was laughing about it. I wasn't laughing. I was distraught, like, what do I do with this man? He's sitting right there smiling.
Really?
He's like smiling. And are you serious? And then he tells everybody else to come look and see what he did.
What's going through your head?
It was so demeaning and destructive to me. I didn't know what else to do. If that wasn't enough, he sat there and he took a newspaper and shaped it into a hat of a comb and sat it there on his head like this and said, you need to wear one of these on your next call.
Like a Klansman?
Yes, a Klan's hat.
4 days after the incident, the police union requested a copy of the video captured on that city camera, and that put the city on notice. Mayor Dennis Bring confronted Chief Campo.
The chief was standing in his office and he made a joke, am I going to get fired over this? And I looked at the law director and I said, hand him his paper. And he said, after 30 years, this is what I get. And I said, you have 10 minutes to get out of your office.
Now, the chief was not fired. He reportedly said he was able to retire after 32 years of the department and 8 of those years as chief.
Are you Mr. Campo?
That doesn't matter.
We wanted to ask the former chief why, but we were asked to leave his property by a man who looked a lot like him.
Just want to help people. Just want to do my job. We always got to prove ourselves in this job. Being black, being a woman, they all got to prove themselves. It ain't fair.
Keith Poole has achieved distinction as an officer, serving 30 years in law enforcement, 8 of those years as a school resource officer.
To have this man poke at that, and these kids see that, and they say, well, what's going on with Officer Poole? Why is he doing that to him? That's only one man that tried to do damage, but he will not be able to damage me.
Poole and his attorney, Ashley Case Sletfold, alleged that there was a pattern of discrimination orchestrated by the former chief. Poole says when he asked the chief for a new patrol car, the chief sent him this picture of what he could get. The chief also allegedly posted this picture of Poole with the headline, "Raccoon Reaper." And Poole claims the chief publicly posted this picture of a hot sauce bottle. On it, the face of the department's only Latino officer. Despite all of that, Officer Poole chooses to still work at that department.
Why would you want to stay at that department?
The department is not Tony Campbell. The department is what we make it. He was just part of the department. Now that he's gone, now it's going to be a department.
And things have gotten better?
And things have gotten a lot better.
David Begnaud, CBS News, New York.
There is a new police chief now. Officer Poole says he is happy with his new supervisor. The officer filed a complaint with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission. Now his attorney plans to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city and the former chief. The former chief has not publicly denied what happened. The mayor said Chief Campo told him he was joking. Outside of Television City to 7th and Rangeline, where we sit at 39 degrees right now. Still a little wind chill in effect, only feels like it's 34, but temperatures much better than what they were yesterday, even though we still see some below the freezing point out in Independence and Sedan, or right at it in Miami and in Anderson. At least we were able to avoid a whole bunch of those 20s that we had on Monday. Wind is going to pick up. I haven't seen much of an increase as of yet, but by the time we get to the afternoon, it's going to be pretty blustery. If you have any regional or even national travel considerations, consider yourselves lucky, as the high pressure system will move east of the Mississippi. Really won't see anything formulate until Wednesday night, and that's going to allow some Gulf moisture to move in right behind the high pressure. But in the meantime, we're going to roll back-to-back days into the 60s. Now, by the time we get into the afternoon and evening hours, gusting up to 35 miles per hour, overnight close to 40 miles an hour coming in from the south. And eventually a little rain, but if you're off the road by sunset on Wednesday, shouldn't play much of a bearing. You'll see some pockets of heavy rain there Wednesday from about, say, 9 to 2, 3 a.m. Thursday. But by the time we get to sunrise on Thursday, it should be a thing of the distant past. Thanksgiving is going to be a little bit cooler, high only around 46 degrees, but shaping up for a nice weekend if you have other travel plans. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The suspect accused of driving his SUV into a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, will make his first court appearance later today. 39-year-old Daryl Brooks of Milwaukee is charged with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Police say he was fleeing a domestic incident when he ran over barricades and entered the parade route. A candlelight vigil was held last night to honor the victims. Today marks the first day federal employees head to work under a vaccine mandate. More than 90% of federal workers have received at least 1 dose. 5% have applied for an exemption. COVID cases are on the rise across the U.S., currently surging in 35 states. And the Thanksgiving holiday travel rush is already on full display. 4 million people are expected to fly this week, up 80% from last year. Millions more are choosing to drive. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
And our only travel concern is really going to be the wind that we're going to have for the next 2 days. Highs in the mid-60s for both Tuesday and Wednesday, but we'll get some gusts of 35, 40 miles per hour. Wednesday night, here comes the rain rolling through after sunset, and then out by Thanksgiving sunrise, just a little chilly for our holiday.
Well, millions of red crabs have started the long crawl, marking their annual migration to the coast of Christmas Island, an Australian territory in the Indian Ocean. It takes months of preparation each year for the employees of the Christmas Island National Park to put in place miles of road barriers and signs to make sure these crabs go over specially built bridges. The crabs move in huge numbers from their forest home to the sea. Each female crab can release up to 100,000 eggs into the ocean. The speed of the migration depends on the phase of the moon, as red crabs always spawn before dawn on a receding high tide during the last quarter of the moon, and that's according to Parks Australia.
I've always wanted to go to Christmas Island and see that. I've always thought
it's cool
that
that they design it to where the crabs know to go on those bridges.
Isn't that something
too.
else?
Yeah.
Mother Nature's got a way. They are not edible, by the way.
Oh,
No, you
I'm
didn't.
sure you looked into that.
Well, I've always wanted to go to Christmas Island.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just one thing I've always wanted to do as a kid. Australia, I've always been fascinated ever since I was a kid. Thanks for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
More ways to win at the Stables